There are songs that make you sad, and then there are songs that reach all the way down. Find the part of you you've been protecting and just hold it. 10 of the saddest songs in classic R&B history, and some of them carry backstories so quietly devastating when you hear them again after today. They will never sound the same. Number 10, Neither One of Us Wants to Be the First to Say Goodbye by Gladys Knight and the Pips, 1973. Here's something you've probably never thought about. The saddest moment in a relationship isn't the breakup. It's the time right before, when you both already know, and neither one of you will say it. Gladys Knight knew that moment, and in 1973, she sang it so completely that it became the most honest breakup song in R&B history. Neither One of Us came out in the spring of '73 and hit number 1 on the R&B chart, number 2 pop. Written by Jim Weatherly, the same man who later wrote Midnight Train to Georgia. But where that song was about leaving and starting over, this one is about staying too long, staying out of love or habit, or maybe just fear of what comes after. And it's gotten to the Listen to the opening line. Sad to think we're not going to make it. Not angry, not dramatic, just sad. Quietly certain, like she'd already accepted it, like the grief was already in her throat before the song even started. And then here's what gets me. This was Gladys Knight and the Pips' last single on Motown. They left the label right after this. So the song that closes a chapter of their career is literally about not being able to close a chapter, about holding on even when you know you should let go. That's a simple word that I just cannot say. You know that feeling, that limbo space where the love is still there, but the relationship already isn't, where every conversation feels like a goodbye that nobody's willing to say out loud, where you're both just waiting for the other one to be brave enough or broken enough to say what you're both already thinking. That's a different kind of heartbreak, and Gladys sang it like she'd lived every day of it. The Pips hit those harmonies like a eulogy, like they were mourning something that was technically still alive. And whether you've been in that relationship or you were the one who finally said it first, you know exactly what she means. Some of y'all just went somewhere just now. I see you. Number 9, I'd Rather Go Blind by Etta James, 1967. There's a certain kind of love that you know is going to destroy you, and you stay anyway, not because you're weak, because the thought of living without it is somehow worse than the pain of watching it end. 'Cause you see, I love you so much. Etta James recorded I'd Rather Go Blind in 1967, and it wasn't even supposed to be the main event. It came out as a B-side to Tell Mama, a B-side. The industry treated it like an afterthought. The people didn't. Reveal the tears. It hit number 1 on the R&B chart in the UK and became one of the most covered, most sampled, most cited songs in the history of the genre. Rod Stewart took it into the pop stratosphere, but nobody, and I mean nobody, has ever sung it like Etta. Here's what you need to understand about where this song came from. Be a blind girl, babe. It was reportedly written by a man named Ellington Jordan while he was serving time in prison. He gave it to Etta, and when you hear the lyrics, something told me it was over when I saw you and her talking. There's a specificity there that only comes from a real moment, a real walk across a real room, a real gut drop when you understand what you're looking at. Etta was 29 years old when she recorded this, and she had already lived a life, the kind of life that teaches you what this song is about. But here's the part that still gets me.
War and your warm embrace, babe.
She doesn't sing it angry. She doesn't sing it bitter. She sings it as a choice. I'd rather go blind than to see you walk away from me. That's not weakness. That's someone who loves something so completely they'd rather live in darkness than watch it leave. I don't know if that's beautiful or heartbreaking. Maybe it's both. Maybe that's the point.
When the reflection in the glass that I held to my lips, babe.
If you've ever loved someone you knew wasn't good for you and stayed anyway, not because you couldn't leave, but because you genuinely couldn't imagine a world without them, then Etta wasn't singing a song. She was singing your confession.
I don't want to watch you leave me, babe.
Real talk. Only 9% of you are subscribed. That hurts. We're spending hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life. And if you're watching this far, you clearly care. So hit subscribe. It's free and takes 2 seconds. Now, to my subscribers, barely any of you have joined the membership. And honestly, that stings even more. You know the work we put in. You keep coming back. If these videos have ever made you feel something, if this music means something to you, join the membership. It's $1 coffee a month, and it's the only way we keep this going. Let's build this together. All right, back to it. Number 8, If You Don't Know Me By Now, by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, featuring Teddy Pendergrass, 1972.
Now, baby, I know the difference.
What happens when two people who love each other genuinely can't understand each other? Not for lack of trying, not because the love isn't real, but because after years together, all that time, all that history, you still feel like strangers in the same house?
Woman, you got yours too.
That's If You Don't Know Me By Now. And in 1972, Teddy Pendergrass sang it with so much ache that it went straight to #1 R&B and #3 pop, and it hasn't left the conversation since. Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff wrote it in Philadelphia at the heart of what would become one of the greatest runs in R&B history. They had a gift for finding the exact language of pain that Black America was feeling but couldn't quite articulate, and this song found it. Now here's something I want you to sit with for a second.
I've got mine.
Teddy Pendergrass was 22 years old when he recorded this. 22, and he's singing about the exhaustion of a long relationship, about being misunderstood, about trying and still coming up short with the weight of someone who had lived 22 extra years he hadn't.
I'll say goodbye. What good is a love affair?
That's what a gift sounds like. And the arrangement, and the strings come in right when the emotion needs somewhere to go, Harold Melvin's direction. The Blue Notes harmonies holding Teddy up even as he's breaking. That's a whole community of musicians saying, collectively, we know this feeling too. Here's what's wild.
Just get yourself together.
Harold Melvin never really got his due for what he built. He handpicked Teddy. He shaped the sound, but it was Teddy's voice on the label, Teddy's face on the posters, Harold Melvin in the Blue Notes, Harold's name first, Harold's group, but Teddy was the one who became the star.
If you don't know me, baby.
They eventually split, and it was messy. All that tension, all that unresolved feeling between two people who built something together and couldn't hold it. Maybe that pain was in the music all along. If you've ever tried to make someone understand you and watched the exhaustion settle into their eyes, you know what this song is really about.
You'll never know me.
Number 7, The Tracks of My Tears by Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, 1965. Paul McCartney called it one of his all-time favorite songs. Linda Ronstadt covered it. It's been used in more film soundtracks than you can count. And in 1965, it peaked at number 2 on the R&B chart because number 1 just wouldn't hold something this perfect. But here's what most people don't talk about. The Tracks of My Tears is not a sad song about loss. It's a sad song about performance, about the smile you wear so nobody knows, about showing up to the party, being the life of it, laughing at the right moments, looking fine while you're dying inside. Smokey Robinson co-wrote this with Pete Moore and Marv Tarplin. And Tarplin, who was quietly one of the greatest guitarists in Motown history, wrote that opening guitar riff, that unmistakable descending line before there were even lyrics. The melody came first, the grief came second. And somehow that makes sense because sometimes the feeling is there before you have the words for it. Listen to what Smokey actually does vocally. He's not performing heartbreak, he's performing composure and letting you hear what it costs every time his voice catches. That's not technique, that's truth. And here's the thing about this kind of sadness. The kind where you're still showing up, still smiling, still functioning, it might be the loneliest kind there is. Because nobody comes to check on you, you look fine, you seem fine. The only evidence is the tracks that the tears leave when you get home and finally take the mask off. If you've ever been to an event, a cookout, a party, a family gathering, and laughed and talked and played your role, and then sat in your car in the dark parking lot afterward and just let it out. Then Smokey wasn't just writing a song in 1965. He was writing about a Tuesday night in your life. The ones who hurt the most are often the ones who smile the brightest. And Smokey knew that. Number 6, Ain't No Sunshine by Bill Withers, 1971.
Wonder if she's gone to
Okay, stay with me on this one because the backstory here changes everything.
anytime she goes away.
Bill Withers was 32 years old in 1971. Not 22, not a prodigy, 32. He had been working on the assembly line at a factory, making toilets for Boeing's commercial aircraft, when he finally got his first record deal.
It's not warm when she's away.
His debut album, Just As I Am, was produced by Booker T. Jones, and tucked inside it was a song he'd written about watching a woman leave, based on a scene from the film Days of Wine and Roses. That song was Ain't No Sunshine, and here's the part that will permanently change how you hear it.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone.
The famous middle section, I know, repeated 26 times, was not the real lyric. It was a placeholder. Bill Withers fully intended to go back and write something there. Actual words, a real verse. He just needed to mark the space. Booker T. Jones heard it and said, leave it. Leave it exactly like that. Because those 26 repetitions of I know, that desperate, helpless, almost embarrassing acknowledgement that you know better and you still can't help yourself, are more honest than any lyric he could have written, and he knew it. It won the Grammy for Best Rhythm and Blues Song in 1972. It's been sampled and covered hundreds of times. Michael Jackson covered it as a teenager and sounded like he understood every word of it. But the reason it lives forever is because I know is the most universal thing you can say about love that doesn't work.
I know. Hey, I ought to leave the young thing alone.
You know it's not healthy. You know they're not coming back the way you need. You know you should stop waiting. You know, and you wait anyway.
Where she's gone.
Bill Withers, by the way, was one of the most private, quietly dignified men in the history of music. He retired from the industry in 1985 and never came back. He said he'd said what he had to say. And that right there, that's enough for me.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone.
That's number 6. Before we get to the final 5, I want you to understand something about what you're about to hear.
Every day.
Number 5, Still by Commodores, 1979. In 79, the Commodores were one of the biggest acts in the world. Brick House, Slippery When Wet. They were a funk machine, a party band. They sold out arenas. They made you move. And then Lionel Richie sat down and wrote number 1 on the R&B chart, number 1 pop. It spent 3 weeks there. And it is, by any honest measure, one of the quietest, mostly the moment the band started moving apart. I don't know if that's irony or poetry. Probably both. But what I want you to think about is this. Number 4, I Wish It Would Rain by The Temptations, 1968.
It might sound strange, but I wish it would.
Here's something I didn't know until I started digging into this, and I have to warn you, it changes everything.
People, this hurt I feel inside. Words.
I Wish It Would Rain was written by Roger Penzabene, and Roger Penzabene wrote it about his own life, about discovering that his wife was being unfaithful, about the shame of it and the grief of it, and the desperate need to hide from the world, to wait for rain so nobody could see him crying in the street.
I need rain to disguise the tears in my eyes.
He wrote it. Norman Whitfield and Barrett Strong helped complete it. The Temptations recorded it in 1967. It hit number 1 R&B, number 4 pop. David Ruffin's lead vocal is still one of the greatest performances in soul history.
Oh, yeah. Let it rain.
That raw, almost uncontrolled heartbreak right at the edge of his range. And then, on December 31st, 1967, New Year's Eve, days before the song became a hit, Roger Penzabene took his own life. He never heard it on the radio. He never knew what he'd made. He never saw what happened when Ruffin opened his mouth and released what Penzabene had written. Sit with that for a second.
My tear-stained face pressed against the window pane.
This was a man in the most profound pain of his life who had no way to carry it except to write it down. And what he wrote down became one of the most beloved, most covered, most recognized expressions of heartbreak in American music history. Otis Redding recorded his version. The Rolling Stones covered it. It's been heard hundreds of millions of times, but Roger Penzabene never heard any of it. And now you know that when David Ruffin sings, I need rain to disguise the tears in my eyes, that wasn't a dramatic device. That was a real man's real prayer. That was someone asking for something as simple and terrible as a way to not be seen falling apart.
Behind my teardrop, and no one will ever know that
Music doesn't always protect the people who make it. Sometimes it outlives them entirely. And all we can do is listen and remember and make sure his name gets said. Roger Penzabene wrote that song.
Cry, listen, I gotta cry, 'cause crying.
Number 3, Distant Lover by Marvin Gaye, 1973's live 1974. You've heard Distant Lover. I know you have. But I want to make sure you've heard the right version. The studio recording was on Let's Get It On in 1973. Beautiful, controlled. The kind of heartbreak Marvin could bottle up and place perfectly in an arrangement. But the live version from the Marvin Gaye live album, recorded in 1974 at the Forum in Los Angeles, that's something different. That's not a performance. That's a man standing in front of thousands of people using a song as the only honest language he had left. The crowd responds like it's a revival. Women screaming, not fan screaming, the kind that comes from recognition, from being seen, from hearing something you felt but never had the words for. And Marvin was not in a good place in 1974. His first marriage to Anna Gordy Gaye was falling apart in ways that would take years to fully understand. His best friend Tammy Terrell had died of a brain tumor in 1970, and it nearly broke him. He had retreated, questioned everything, considered quitting music entirely, and then Let's Get It On came out, and suddenly he was back, but not whole. Never quite whole. Distant lover, so many miles away. He's not singing about distance and miles. He's singing about the distance that grows inside a relationship long before anyone leaves. That space between two people who are still technically together but can no longer reach each other. And you know that kind of distance is harder to cross than any ocean. The way he extends the melody in the live version, letting certain notes hang in the air longer than the arrangement requires, like he doesn't want the moment to end. And that's not technique. That's a man using music to stay close to something he'd already lost. So many miles away. There are performances that are technically brilliant. And then there are performances where someone is actually bleeding on stage. That live version of Distant Lover is the second kind. And if you've never sat alone and listened to it all the way through, tonight might be the night. Number 2, A House Is Not a Home by Luther Vandross, 1981. Burt Bacharach and Hal David wrote A House Is Not a Home in 1964. Dionne Warwick recorded it first, and it was lovely, elegant, a Broadway-worthy meditation on loneliness. And then in 1981, Luther Vandross got hold of it. And he didn't just cover it, he claimed it. He rebuilt it from the inside out and put something in it that the original never had, because the original was written by songwriters. Luther's version was recorded by a man who understood the specific loneliness in that lyric on a level that was almost too personal to share. Luther Vandross spent most of his adult life publicly private about his personal life. He never married. He rarely talked about love in the direct biographical way other artists did, but he sang about it. Lord, did he sing about it. And in A House Is Not a Home, he found the exact words for something that is genuinely one of the hardest human feelings to articulate, the difference between being alone and being lonely. You can be in a room full of people and be lonely. You can be in a house that is perfectly, objectively fine. And it is not a home, because a home isn't a structure. It's a presence. It's a specific person, their specific energy, the way the whole space changes when they're in it. And when that person is gone, whether by death or leaving or just the slow fate of love, you can still be in the same building, but you are not in the same home. Luther re-recorded the song in 1994, and that version is also extraordinary. But the 1981 version, raw, slightly imperfect in the best way, with that orchestra building underneath him like the song itself is aching. That's the one. He had a stroke in April of 2003. He never fully recovered. He died on July 1st, 2005. And in the years since, every time A House Is Not a Home comes on, you understand it just a little bit differently. because now you know what it means to miss the presence of someone who made a space feel like somewhere worth coming back to. And that part still gets me every single time. Number 1, Here My Dear by Marvin Gaye, 1978. I saved this one for last because it's not just the saddest song, it's the saddest idea in the history of R&B. In 1976, Marvin Gaye's divorce from Anna Gordy Gaye, the sister of Motown founder Berry Gordy, was finalized. They had been married for 14 years. It was over. But Marvin owed her significant alimony, and he didn't have the money. So they negotiated. And here is what they agreed to. Marvin would record a new album. Anna would receive a share of the advance, reportedly $100,000, plus royalties from the record. In other words, Marvin had to create something and give it to her in order to be free of her. And what Marvin created was an album about her. Here My Dear, released in 1978, is a double album. 70 plus minutes of Marvin Gaye processing his marriage, his failures, his love, his bitterness, his guilt, and his grief out loud on record for the entire world. There are songs about the good years. There are songs about the lies. There's a song called When Did You Stop Loving Me? When Did I Stop Loving You? That will stop your heart if you let it. There's tenderness and anger and confession and exhaustion all tangled together in a way that sounds like nothing else he ever made. Because nothing else he ever made came from a place quite this exposed. Anna Gordy Gaye threatened to sue over the album's contents. It was too honest, too specific, too him, and here's the final cruelty of it all. Every dollar the album earned, she received a portion of. Marvin had to give her the thing he made from his own pain. He had to hand her his grief like a check. That's not just the saddest song. That's one of the most devastating acts of artistic creation I've ever encountered. A man turning his heartbreak into currency and paying his debt with it. And through all of it, the bitterness, the loss, the impossible circumstance, there are moments on that album of pure, unguarded love where he still sounds like a man who meant every word he ever said to her because he did. Make him pay.